Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm Brittany Tarwater. This is the best outcome we could have prayed for. That's what the incident commander said as the search continued overnight for a missing 6-year-old boy in Tellico Plains who was found safe this morning. He'd been missing all night. You probably got that Amber Alert sent to your phone last night. In the middle of the night, really, is when we got, at least that's when I got the alert to my phone. And he was in the woods, in the cold, wet all night, just a 6-year-old boy, but found safe by first responders today as they did not give up their search looking for him all night. This is really, I think, the best video of the day, where we can see him being carried in, and we're going to speak with that first responder in just a second who's carrying him in, who found him. But look at that sweet child who's just carried out of the woods and into an ambulance after being missing all night long. Around 4 o'clock, we're told, is when he first went missing, went into the woods to just to play and explore with his dog. A few hours later, the dog, we're told, returned home soaking wet, but without the child. And of course, that's when first responders began their search, and the Amber Alert eventually was issued for Elijah Kensinger, who we're looking at right here as he's coming in. This is just after an overnight search. It got to be cold last night. Here's more pictures of him that his mother was sending us. It got to be cold last night. It rained a little bit yesterday in this part of Tellico Plains. The terrain is rough. It is hilly. It's pretty dense. First responders tell us that Elijah was found about 1.5 miles away from where he originally went into the woods. So they have been talking with him, trying to understand a little bit more about what happened last night, yesterday afternoon, how he got so far away, what he did to survive, how he stayed warm. You could see in that picture that we showed you not too long ago when he was coming out of the woods that he doesn't seem to me to be properly dressed to be out in 28-degree weather all night long, but he did. And so officials are trying to understand what the story was and how he got to be so far away. But our Kyle Granger was there with our crews as the search continued into the morning, and then as he was rescued today, he actually was the one who got that video of him going into the ambulance. And he also spoke with first responders and with the sheriff, who were spending hours overnight looking for this child. So here is the person who found him, and then also the Monroe County Sheriff.
It was a very humbling moment. Very happy with the outcome of this search.
You guys have been out here a long time. You had a lot of support from the community who came out to help you with this. Talk about that support and that community effort.
It was amazing to see all the citizens that stopped to help us perform the searches last night and today. Honestly, we could not have done this without all the community support that we had with this.
When the emergency management gets involved, you're looking at all kinds of terrain, the weather that is out here. Talk about pulling in all those resources to facilitate this search with the Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, at the Sheriff's Office request, we worked with TEMA getting the resources they needed from the state, which is dog teams, incident management teams, whatever they needed, we tried to fulfill that request for them.
And it was a long night. We're here at noon today, been here for 18 hours or so. What was going through your mind as the hours ticked on and we knew how cold it was out here?
We were very concerned because there's a creek that runs right behind the residence. With the choppers and planes that was in the air, we wasn't getting any heat signatures. So we were concerned about him maybe being in the creek or one of the ponds or lakes. Then as the night went on, it went to 28 degrees, and it had rained earlier while he was missing. So we were very concerned about hypothermia kicking in. But luckily, he's found. He appears to be in good health and very blessed.
And he was about 1.5 miles from his home, so he had quite a journey through the night.
He had a good journey through the night. He's a tough little guy.
Talk about, did you have any conversation with him? I know you went in the ambulance with him for a little while. I know he was wet. I know he was cold. What was his mood like?
He was actually very talkative, more than I thought he would be. Seemed like he was in good spirits. Very happy to see his parents.
I'm sure he was happy to see first responders and to see the familiar faces of his family as soon as he was rescued. So we'll back you up a little bit and tell you more about what was happening in this search and some of the circumstances that first responders were dealing with when they were searching for the child. So he's outside in his backyard, which apparently backs up to the woods, where he went into the woods to play or just to explore when he was with his dog. I'll show you this drone footage, and this gives you a picture of the terrain and how dense it is. And you heard the first responders there talking about their concern that he was in the water, saying that the dog came back wet, possibly even wetter than what the light rain would have created. So they were very concerned about him being in the water. Of course, was not. He is safe and he is okay. But that was one of their concerns, is they had helicopters, they had planes in the area searching for any, they had infrared technology, so searching for any kind of heat source that would indicate that there was a person who would be in these woods. Ended up being about 1.5 miles away from where he apparently went into the woods. And this part of town, we're told, especially overnight, just because of the terrain, cell phone signal was limited. So when we had crews there in the overnight hours who were keeping track of this search, they were telling us that they were communicating mainly with walkie-talkies rather than using cell phones, because the walkie-talkie signal was a little more reliable than the signal that they were able to get on their cell phones. We are told that Verizon was able to come in and provide a temporary signal for a temporary tower, so that cell phone signal started to work late into the night, early into the morning. So that helped relieve some of the pressure that crews were having when it comes to communicating. But talk about the turnout and the volunteers, the number of people who stepped up to help bring this child home. We're told more than 100 volunteers were out there trying to do what they could. So many volunteers, in fact, that they had to start turning people away because the way the terrain is laid out, they were only looking for experienced volunteers in the search and rescue effort. They were also looking for people who were familiar with the terrain, familiar with the area, and basically saying, if you're not experienced, you don't know a whole lot about this part of town, then they can use your help in other areas. But the turnout searching for Elijah Kensinger was certainly something that was remarkable, with hundreds of people coming out to volunteer, and in such a short amount of time. We talked about the cold. You heard the first responder mention that it got to be 28 degrees, so dealing with some cold weather. Meteorologist Heather Haley and I were talking about how, in fact, for mid-January to have sort of mild weather that we've had yesterday with this missing child, and then of course with the trench collapse not too far away from here, both of those things dealing with somewhat mild temperatures. It was a light rain and dipping to about 28 degrees, which is still, nobody wants to be outside in that cold weather, but it could have been, circumstances could have been a lot different when we're talking about mid-January. But the good news is this child was found around 11:30 this morning after going missing around 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Yesterday around 4 o'clock is when we're told that he went out to play in the backyard. This is the article that we have up here on our on WVLT.tv. Went into the woods around 4 o'clock with his dog. The dog did return. However, the child did not, which is when the search began, looking for Elijah Kensinger, who was about 1.5 miles away from his home, and the woods, we're told, backed up to his backyard. So may or may not be an area that he is somewhat familiar with, going out into the woods and exploring, but something happened where he got turned around. We're trying to figure out the details of exactly what was going on overnight in those hours when he went into the woods until this morning when he was found. So first responders, as you saw, they took him into the ambulance, and this is some of that video that I just love to see here. We're trying to speak to him, get an idea of what happened, how he got to be so far away. It's easy to get turned around in these woods, as we all know. And and how he was able to survive in 28-degree weather after a light rain and being so far away from home. So best possible situation, being able to come out, bring this child safe out of the woods. They said he was talkative, that he actually seemed to be in good spirits when first responders got to him, that he was very glad, of course, to see his parents, which no surprise, glad to see. You see him talking and you can hear him a little bit there speaking with some of the first responders, getting blankets on him and making sure that he checks out medically and that he would be okay after being in the woods all night. So this is regarding the Amber Alert that you likely got sent to your phone right in the middle of the night. I got mine around midnight, so that would be somewhere around the time that you probably got the Amber Alert sent to your phone as well. But this child now brought home this morning around 11:30. So best possible situation that we could have with 6-year-old Elijah Kensinger coming home safe this morning. We're going to keep you updated on our WVLT News app and all of our streaming platforms, as well as on WVLT on the air this afternoon at 4, 5, and 6 o'clock as we continue to follow this story. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day.